All right, let's do it. The
Deep
topic
breath.
none of us want to talk about. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the final storyline of the week is this. What exactly did Bruce Arena and Chicho Arango actually do? Because I think we need to get down to this. Okay, we have plenty of time. We could talk about the other stuff.
This is good. No, keep going.
No,
Well,
of course.
we're going in the
Yeah,
order.
we
of
have
the
to
events,
go in
the way
order
the
of
events
canceled.
happen.
Yeah, chronological order.
Yeah,
There's a
so-
Okay.
docket. The
The
inbox is
first
full right now.
cancellation was Adam in the Garden of Eden, I think. And
Well, we're gonna be here a while.
Yeah.
the biggest LAFC storyline of the week and one of the biggest MLS storylines of the year so far came late into the second half of our game against Colorado last week when play was stopped for almost 10 minutes after Colorado player, and forgive my pronunciation, Chidozie Awaziem. Does anyone know if that's anywhere close?
Close.
Probably not. Accused our beloved Sergi Palencia of using some sort of offensive remark. It should be noted that the Colorado player is Nigerian, leading to many people to assume that the comment was racial in nature, although that has not been confirmed. An investigation was launched by CONCACAF. Both teams are said to be cooperating. Palencia denies that anything was said. This story has been picked up by the New York Times, The Guardian. I got a KTLA push notification today while walking my dog. This isn't going to go away, and it is possible that Palencia faces serious sanctions by CONCACAF. The Colorado player released a statement today saying the following: during last night's CONCACAF Champions Cup match, I believe I was subjected to abusive language on the field, something I've never experienced from another player before. I immediately reported what I'd heard to my teammates and the CONCACAF match officials. He goes on to say, my hope is that the governing bodies of the sport continue to hold players and fans accountable for discriminatory language in order to create an environment that protects and respects players of all races and cultural backgrounds. A couple of things I want to say right off the bat. We don't know what happened. No one listening knows what happened. We don't know any of these people, even if we watch them play soccer every week and it feels like we know these people. Okay. I also want to make sure and make clear that we're going to try our best to get this conversation right. And it's possible we slip up. We're three white guys who host a soccer podcast for a mostly Latino audience, and we were about to talk about a Nigerian claiming a Spanish guy said something offensive. We're going to step in it. So we're going to do our best, trust we're acting in good faith, recognize there's some things we don't understand here. Here's where I personally come down on this, and then I'll sort of just open it up and see what you guys want to talk about it. There's a lot of tribalism in sports, especially in soccer. Bouanga goes down in the box. We see a penalty. The other team sees the dive, right? And on Reddit and Twitter, I've already seen some of that unfortunate tribalism come into play. Palencia seems like such a nice guy. The Colorado player must be trying to get him sent off as some advantage being played. I think if your instinct here is to immediately jump to defend our player just because he plays for our team, I think you're maybe working in the wrong framework. This isn't a soccer conversation we're having. We're having a human being conversation. These are two people at work, and one guy feels like he was disrespected at work. So from a human perspective, what do I believe? I don't believe that any non-sociopath on the planet would make a false accusation like this to gain advantage in the first round of the fucking CONCACAF Champions Cup. I just don't believe that someone would do that. He clearly hasn't benefited from it. It's going to be weeks of an investigation. So there are three possible scenarios to me, and only two seem likely. One, a guy on the Colorado Rapids decided that the team needed some help on the field, and so he orchestrated and fabricated a racist or offensive remark, and now is trying to ruin Sergi Palencia's career and launch weeks of investigations into himself. Two, or that's one scenario. Scenario two is an athlete in his 20s got frustrated in the moment and made a mistake and said something offensive, and then realized their mistake and had to lie about saying it. And then the final scenario is the Colorado player thought he heard something that Sergi Palencia didn't say, and both players are acting in good faith, and the whole thing's a big fucking clusterfuck. I think if we're being honest with ourselves, only two of those are possible, right? It's scenario two or scenario three. There's no world in which he made it up just to fucking ruin a guy's life, right?
No.
Maybe that's naive, but I'd rather be naive than cruel. All that is to say, I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. I don't think we have to hate Palencia now. I truly am hoping nothing changes with his role in the club. We like him as a guy. We love him as a player. I'm only saying it. It is far more likely to me that the guy in Colorado is acting in good faith and that we as a fan base need to pump the brakes on trying to discredit him just because a guy on our team is the one being accused. And if it was flipped around and Colorado fans were saying Sergi Palencia was lying about someone being racist to him, I would have told them to go fuck themselves. So I think we should extend the same grace to them. So I don't know, anything you guys want to talk about with this? How are you feeling?
Not good. None of it makes
yeah.
you feel good. I agree with you on like what I've been seeing online is just it's rough, guys. Like
I haven't seen.
like log off.
I haven't looked at it.
A lot of you just log off. This is not a sporting thing, and it's not even like it's not a gamesmanship thing. And look, I understand. I like Sergi Palencia too. I think he's a great player.
He's been your favorite player for so long.
He's been one of the more inspiring players on LAFC because of the work that he does, and he kind of just goes about his business, and he's always kind of consistently good. But that's him playing a sport. This is us talking about something that extends well beyond that. Like, let's not forget, soccer's just made up. It's not fucking real. It's just a game. Like, none of these things matter. But what does matter is the way that you treat people, and just to see people then get online and try to gain some kind of edge as if LAFC is going to call you and be like, hey, you guys were right. You found out, you figured it out. You saved our man, Sergi, and we appreciate you. So you know what? We've got a seat right next to Steve Trundolo. You're now assistant coach. Welcome to the team. Like, come on. Like, seriously, come on. And also just, but it is kind of systemic to our society and everything that goes on is like everyone has to have a take. And sometimes you just don't. You just let things happen and you accept the kind of the consequences of them. If in fact it comes out and we finally get kind of like the real breakdown of everything, and then you disagree with the way a punishment goes down, then fine, we can talk then. But as of right now, it just seems so premature to really lean heavy and have some of the strong opinions that I've seen online. Like, unless your strong opinion is you condemn racism and derogatory comments in all forms, I don't really want any of your other strong opinions. I really don't. I don't care about them. And again, log off.
I completely agree. I guess you outlined those three scenarios. Like, if we're being honest, yes, one is not possible. And also, if we're being honest, three is pretty optimistic. Like, just some like simple misunderstanding of two ships passing in the night and like, whoops, I thought he said a bad thing, but he didn't say a bad thing. That would be great if it turned out that way. I mean, wouldn't be great. It would be great in context of this very tricky and annoying situation. There isn't any actual evidence that's pointing toward that. It's just possible. So I think more likely we're playing in the world of like either Palencia, like you said, made a mistake in the moment and like needs to take some responsibility and get whatever consequences are just and learn from it and hopefully grow and move on. And we all as fan bases and as a league hopefully grow from this as well. Like it being publicized is meant to be a way for everyone to learn and to like understand that this is not okay.
This is how we grow the game, is what you're saying.
Honestly, it is. Like for it to be normalized to be like, oh, players talk like that, it's no big deal. Like that would be a problem.
Yeah.
There's also a scenario where like we don't know a lot about Palencia in terms of who he is, like on a personal level. I have no reason to believe anything good or bad. I guess only good. But like if there's a world where we also find out that like there's actually a history of this and he's actually like particularly toxic, and that's something that should be handled and addressed also if that's what comes out. Like Vince said, like we should all just keep our ears open and our mouths closed, I think.
I've seen a lot of people say innocent until proven guilty. And I think that's sort of silly here. One, because like, I don't think the investigation, unless there's audio of this and a mic picked it up, I don't think an investigation is going to find anything. It's going to be a he said, she said situation, or he said situation. And I don't know how they're even going to come down unless there is video evidence of him and they can do mouth whatever. I don't know. Like, it just
Well,
feels
they
like
could
we're
both
never.
just be honest about it if he said it.
Well, I
He could
think
be
what
like, yeah, I said something. And like,
If he
you know what I mean?
admits it, yes, that's
Well,
a way
and
that something comes.
not
of it.
just them. What they'll do is they will look at the incident and say, okay, where did this occur? And they'll say, he said, hey, it happened here when this happened. Okay. And they'll look at the tape and say, okay, this guy was near here. This guy was near here. Hey, what did you see here? And you would hope that despite being teammates with either or, that they would be truthful in their statements. But you're right. There's not going to be the proverbial smoking gun here. It's going to come down to an investigation. That's why I think I will say this. I do think some of frustration, although it's not really voiced, but I know that some people are feeling it, is the fact that a lot of times these investigations kind of fail people, where they just kind of go like, oh, we didn't find anything. They just kind of disappear.
Right.
And for people that feel that, I feel for you, because there's no, it seems like more times than not, that's the response from these federations, because they don't want to put their foot in it either. And it's unfortunate, because for someone that has probably dealt with that in their life, then to understand that like no one's looking out for you is really disheartening. So I can at least feel for those people. But again, those probably are not the people going online and having strong opinions about this. It's just so weird to like posture in this moment. Like no one cares what you think. Honestly, no one cares what you think. No one even cares what I think. Like it doesn't matter. It's so
I care
weird
what
that
you
people
think,
have to go online and be like, well, let me tell you,
well, it's
what
also like you have no
what I would
evidence.
do.
Like,
And I'm like, what would you do, Mr. So-and-so with 10 digits after your name? Are you even a bot? Are you real? I don't know.
well, it's all like people are people saying like that's outlandish because like he's not that kind of guy. Like he's a good guy. He would never do that. Like, what are you, best friends with him?
People are saying, yeah, people are like, well, he's never shown any signs of this. He seems so. It's like you've never talked to him in your fucking life.
You watch him from the stands at a fucking stadium.
I get it, right?
Soccer. Let's leave it at that.
I
right?
get it.
Like,
I get it though, because he does seem sweet. And you grow fond of people when they're on their team for a while. You see him smiling all the time. Like it's easy to fall into that trap of like, he's a good guy. He's with me.
You can create evidence. You can create evidence like that to be like, there are little signals that point to him being great. You can also create stuff on the other end that I think is equally bad to do. Like, as an example, I'm not actually doing this, but I think it's equally bad to like connect dots that aren't to be connected on the other end, which is like, oh, he hasn't really been that vocal in the press. Is that because they're purposely not putting him out there because he might put a step in it, and he's purposely not been super public? I've seen someone mention that he's from Spain, which has a cultural history of racism in some respect. Like, these are also not dots you should connect, but like you can create any narrative you want, right? Like, we're storytellers here.
What country doesn't have
people
a
are just
cultural
writing
history
shit.
of racism?
What?
I said, what country doesn't have a cultural history of racism?
Yes. But yes.
And again, we don't even know if it's racist.
Say it about an American player too. Like,
it just feels like
I don't know what happened. That's all I'm saying.
This is a complicated story. We should stop thinking about it in a framework of this is a member of our team. I think there's a way to talk about it, of how it will affect our team if something happens to Sergi Palencia. I just also want people for fans of this team to gear themselves up for what this is going to be like for Palencia, because I don't think this isn't going away. This was in the New York Times. Like it is how no one really knew Sergi Palencia's name around the league. And now they do, and it's for this. And so he's not I'm interested to see if it's going to affect him as a person, to be even if nothing happens sanction wise, to be now known as a villain around the league. Would that be helpful to have a chip on your shoulder? Would it put you in your head that these people hate me? I'm going to leave this country at the end of my contract. This is his contract year. Couldn't come at a worse time for him as he needs to negotiate a new contract. I guess that is a question though. Like, what's the precedent here? What can are we going to lose him against Columbus? Are we going to lose him 2 months from now? What does the punishment usually look like for something like this?
It's usually a suspension of some kind. I mean, a fine. What is different about this than maybe some of the other incidents we can look to? Like recently, Dante Van Zier was suspended for 6 games. Kai Wagner from the Philadelphia Union was suspended for 2 games. Those occurred in MLS. So in a way, it's MLS's duty and jurisdiction to handle that. This occurred in a CONCACAF Champions Cup game. it is up to CONCACAF to adjudicate this. And if they suspend him, to your point, Travis, would he only be suspended for CONCACAF games? Or would MLS, as a member of CONCACAF, say, well, we will extend that punishment to MLS? That's hard to say. Like, until we know exactly what happened or what they are ruling on what happened, it's hard to say. But generally speaking, it is a suspension, a multi-game suspension. Van Zier was suspended 6 games. I believe there's been players suspended up to 10 games. And I know some people will say 10 games, that doesn't seem like enough. You might be right. I don't, it's very hard to put an actual number on this. I think, to be fair to the people that do this, meaning the CONCACAF people or the MLS people, like, how would you put a number on this? What would you say? But 10 games is more than it's a third of the season.
And it's a long time to lose our most consistent player, right? Like a guy who is incredibly solid. And if it's just CONCACAF Champions Cup, 10 games is the entire fucking Champions Cup.
Right.
So I don't know. It's bad all around. It sucks to fucking have to talk about this on our stupid podcast that we do to have fun. I think some of the dumb comments online have made me just feel like you're not helping. You're not helping anything by defending these people or saying that this other person is lying. And I think you need to know that you're actively maybe hurting the club, because it makes the club and the player and our fan base look bad that we're digging our heels in so much about this thing we don't know anything about. And I would just say, if you're one of those people who instinctively wants to defend Palencia, ask yourself, if the teams were reversed and this happened against LAFC and we were accusing the Colorado Rapids, would you be just as defensive of the Colorado Rapids, or would you still be supportive of LAFC? And if that's true, then you shouldn't be a part of this conversation, because you're having a soccer conversation and not a human conversation.
Also, less importantly, if it turns out he's being like wrongly accused or something, like, your fan support for this guy won't help anyway. It won't be like, oh, well, they got to the bottom of what really happened and everything's fine now. Thanks so much to the people who tweeted about it. That's what really tipped the scales. Like, you're not doing, like, there's no version of this that is good for you or the team or him or anything. There's a lot of versions of this that are terrible.
Well, I'm so happy that this is our hobby that we do with our spare time.
Yeah,
if you want to support us and our figure out how to solve racism, go to patreon.com/
Yeah. Let's not. There is part of this that, like, it does matter, and I don't want to, like, be like, oh, this sucks to talk about so much, because it's like, look, it really sucks that we're in a situation where this even has to be, like, let's say it was totally a misunderstanding. Like, this guy still is so, like, attuned to it being, like, normal for someone to say something like that to him, that he thought it was possible that he said that. Like, that's still a shitty place for society to be in. And it sucks. Like, it's just sad to think that, like, this is a thing that could happen at this point. It's not surprising, but, like, it's really, the bar is so low to just be kind to other people. Consider meeting that bar, is I think worth saying, and not being like, it sucks to have to say it. Like, not being racist is so fucking easy. It really is.
Counterpoint: Twitter doesn't think so.
Yeah. Or
final question.
To assume it's racism, whatever it is, like, not being offensive to other human beings it's so easy. Just being a kind person is so easy. It takes effort to suck.
Final question, Darren, any guesses on the slur?
That brings us to better than forget it. Okay.
No, I mean, let's when we come back, we're going to play the stupidest game we've ever played. Okay, that's actually true. We're pivoting from the most serious conversation we've ever had on this show. And now, when you come back, we're going to play the least thought out game we've ever come up with.
It's very thoughtful. We're going to exercise what we're saying. We're going to be kind. We're going to try our hardest in the only situation where we know it's as hard as possible for us to be kind. And we're going to demonstrate that it's possible. In
a game called Can You Say Something Nice About Columbus, Ohio?